Hello there. It's time for Most Things Kenobi. Shouldn't it be All Things Kenobi?
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Most Things Kenobi, a podcast about Obi-Wan Kenobi and all things Star Wars. I'm your host Lauren.
And I'm your host Leanne.
And this week...
We're together. In the same room at the same time.
Leaning over a table, which is why our audio is a little tinny, but that's okay, because we're together.
We are together. The Space Twins have been together for an extended period. It's been wonderful.
It's been so nice. And getting to record in person is a rare treat. We've only gotten to do it, I think, once before.
Yeah.
But
now we're knocking out a couple episodes, so you'll hear this again.
Yes.
No doubt. But this week's episode...
Dun, 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 it is Execute Order 66.
I hate that. I mean...
I'll try not to take it personally.
No. Jesus. I mean... This since it's our 66th episode, it seemed appropriate to talk about the Great Jedi Purge and the source of all of our pain.
Yeah, we're seeing more and more personal, private examples of what people experienced during Order 66, which with each new piece of Star Wars material that comes out. I mean, even little Grogu.
Yeah.
We see. It's always painful. Every single example has been, very hard to watch.
Yes. But we are getting glimpses. They're interesting glimpses. Mm-hmm. They're frightening and downright awful.
Yeah.
Luckily, they're not showing too much, although there's seems to be one or two in the community of the Star Wars fandom that really want to see more of Order 66. And I think... we've seen enough. I think touch and go, little glimpses are fine, but we all know what happens. We don't need it in detail.
I mean, it's... Even if you've seen Revenge of the Sith, if you've watched the Clone Wars and then you watch Revenge of the Sith, it is awful. It's so hard, especially Plo Koon for me.
Bad. Everyone felt that one.
That was so fucking sad, especially because we know how... Commander Wolf is. Mm-hmm. It just, it's so fucking awful.
And, we know Cody's the one.
Yeah.
That might quite possibly hurt the most. I mean, we've seen what happened, Rex, as it was happening.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So, Order 66 is betrayal at its finest, and probably one of the greatest crafted... What would it... Manipulation? Plan of destruction? Palpatine really put all of his energy into making this happen. And it was so well done. Mm-hmm. I'm saying this from a crafted story and an evil plot.
Yeah.
Sense here. It was so well done that it worked.
Right? What politician ever has made anything that... was successful on such a large scale.
Right under the Jedi's noses, they were hiding in plain sight almost. Mm-hmm. This was the plan all along.
Well, and that's what makes that episode about Fives so horrible, because he kind of starts to discover and realize something isn't right, and they go through all of this testing, and he goes on the run, and he's being hunted down, and nothing changes.
No. They almost, it was almost falsely a false start.
It makes him feel insane.
Yeah.
It's like being gaslit, basically.
Totally.
Yeah.
And from a clone's point of view, we see it, especially in Season 7 of The Clone Wars, which was a beautiful tale of the tragedy of what happens to the clones. Think about it.
Yeah.
It happened to them. They did not choose. The ones that did choose... Rex, struggled to do so. Mm-hmm. They were built with a command. It's terrible to think about.
It's so interesting, too, though, because from the very beginning, even the first episode of Clone Wars, it's all about the clones are fighting for people to understand that they're individuals and that they have free thinking, and
Yes.
they have the ability to make their own decisions. We're not droids. They have to say it over and over, and then in the end, you flip a switch, and they have no free will anymore.
Yeah, it's
against they have no control over it. So it's, from a storytelling point of view, it's really interesting, really smart, but like from an invested audience member, it's really fucking devastating.
devastating is the word. Yeah. And of course, with Bad Batch, we learn a lot more.
Yeah.
I find it interesting that there was so much discourse on Kamino.
Yes.
Like, after they had to organize.
Yeah, it was cool to see the kind of chaos. The Empire came right in. Like, they were just ready, swooped right in. I loved seeing the very beginning of Bad Batch. It took my breath away. The stuff with Deepa Bilaba and Kanan.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so off. And it's cool, though, because we all know Kanan, and now to see how traumatic that was, what his actual experience was, and then to have Hunter.
Yes.
There was a really interesting thing they said about it at Celebration, where they were saying Hunter couldn't help Kanan. He was trying to, and he failed him. So that's why he couldn't fail Omega. Like, it was really important for him to, even subconsciously redeem himself by rescuing and saving Omega, because he couldn't save Kanan.
Well, you could argue that Kanan's path is what built him into what the individual he became, the Jedi he became, and he was able to then instruct Ezra and, continue on post Order 66. But what caught me is Deepa's sense, and we see it with Ayla Sakura too. There's a second of detection in these Jedi where something is not right, and then it's too late.
Yeah.
Before they can. Deepa at least was able to put up a fight as long as she could to save Kanan, which is just heartbreaking.
It's really cool to see. I love that pose where she has her hand on her bicep like that. She's such an amazing character, and she gets no exposure or representation pretty much at all. This is the first time we even hear her. I'm sure she's there in the prequels. She doesn't really get a scene, where you hear her talk and understand her relationship with Kanan at all. So it's really cool. I thought it was really cool.
I've done some reading because I wanted to know how many Jedi actually survived. And the number varies between canonically and, of course, non-canonically. So if you take into consideration all of the comics, this number gets bigger, and legends and whatever. But canonically less than 20 known Jedi. And that's not including the ones that escaped and then turned to the dark side or became part of Palpatine's plan. So we're talking 20 individuals who stayed light, who were able to escape. That's not a lot.
No. And I've always wondered, how many Jedi existed at that time, at the time of the Purge.
Right.
So, that's like a drop in the bucket.
Totally. And it's really awful because we saw in the Kenobi show, did we not see one or two down in that prison? The suspended Jedi in the prison and the Force-sensitive child, and and then we know what happened. Luminara. It's Uma, Numa, Luma. I don't know. Luminara escapes, but then gets captured, and actually her death is used to lure additional Jedi in to capture and
Is that
kill
told
them.
in a comic somewhere or something? Because that story seems like it would be very dark. That was one of the creepiest moments in Rebels that I remember.
It says here, Unduli survived the initial wave after many believed her dead. However, the Empire caught her shortly after, sentencing her to the Spire prison on Stygian Prime. She was later executed, and the Empire used her remains to lure other surviving Jedi.
That's fucked up. That's really
Of all the Jedi who survived the initial wave of Order 66, Unduli is the only one who did not survive long term.
Wow.
And did not turn to the dark side. So she's not one. She stayed light but was executed and then used.
Do we know what happened to Barriss?
No.
Because she was... arrested. We don't even know if she was imprisoned right before
the question
purge.
is, did they release all of the prisoners? Because they essentially took over the temple, right?
She seems like the kind of person that Palpatine would eventually go after.
Well, the fan favorite theme is that she becomes one of the Inquisitors, or one of the sisters there.
Yeah.
But there's never any confirmed...
Which is funny, because what we've talked about with the Inquisitors is how, like, disorganized they seem and how unprofessional they seem. It's like, what happens to a Jedi's brain when you break it and make them turn to the dark side? They become, like, bickering little shits.
Well, it's a vie for power, because it's all they've got.
Right. That's really true.
And really, it's survival of the fittest. They know that if they fail, what's waiting for them.
Well, and that's the way of the Sith, right? Where you're constantly trying to overtake your master. Like,
crabs in a bucket.
oh my god, it's so accurate.
Crabs in a bucket.
It's disgusting and true.
It's terrible. They're all trying to get to the top of the bucket by using each other.
It really is visually very... It's a word picture you've painted there.
Well, we are a podcast, so...
That's funny.
Order 66, I was also curious. You know, I come with facts, or at least theories. What does the 6-6 mean? And there's several theories.
Well, because, you know, George Lucas, it's never an accident. It's always a deliberate choice.
And the one that seems to be the most logical is pulled from World War II, when Roosevelt ordered 9066, which was terrible. And we won't get into it here, but it was World War II inspired. Mm-hmm. And so they think that perhaps Order 66 was just the shortened version, because it essentially led to the same thing, which is purging of a group of people, or at least...
Internment, purging,
But then
shameful.
Very.
Yeah.
Then there's the 6-6, which is 666. This is a tongue twister. Which is the mark of the beast, if we want to go religious, which is the devil.
Right.
So you could say it was pure evil. But I kind of like the third theory, which is the sixth letter in the Latin alphabet is F. So put two F's together. FF is friendly fire. Mm-hmm. So, again, hidden in plain sight. Mm-hmm. Palpatine, always the puppet master.
Yeah. I mean, and to see these characters that we've grown to love turn on the other characters that we've grown to love. Yeah. I mean, we saw it we talked about this many times, in the Umbara arc, where the clones are shooting each other.
I'm sorry. Fuck Pong Krell.
Just gotta throw that in there.
Just put it in there. Carry on.
Friendly fire is always particularly horrific.
Yes.
And so to have it be on a large scale, these, you know, the Jedi are on a pedestal. Everyone's always thinking that they're kind of invincible. So whenever you see them get overrun or turned on, it's really kind of shocking, honestly.
Yeah.
And very depressing.
Did I get the right arc? The Umbara. Is that Pong Krell?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yup.
Just making sure I'm not throwing out obscenities for no reason.
I mean, I don't disagree, but why?
No, I don't disagree, but why? I just was making sure, because I'm like, was there another?
No, that's correct.
Okay. But it's interesting how it all kind of fucking starts. We have the Fives discovery, but on the same side, it kind of starts with Obi-Wan killing Grievous. Because, like shit, they're in a position, time's out, or time's up, time to go. Yeah. So he initiates it, and it's actually quite good how it's delivered. The execute Order 66. I mean, it's so evil.
It's so like over the top evil.
Yeah, it's great.
Mr. Burns.
Yes, it's a Mr. Burns moment. It's really awful. I hate it. But it's a brilliant plan. I will give it that. I will appreciate it for the story that unfolds beyond it, because, oh boy, you know.
Yeah, I mean, well, they start with killing. Is it Tipley and Tiplar?
Yeah,
or something? The twin sisters who are Jedi.
With the green and the pink.
The amazing.
One's pink, one's green, right?
And at least one of them, if not both of them, are voiced by Anna Graves.
We love you, Anna.
Yeah. Shout out. But one of them at least gets killed by a clone. And that's where, in Clone Wars, that to me is like this turning point where we know things will never be cheerful again.
And they cover it up by saying she got killed by a virus, or the clone did.
Something, yeah.
There's a cover-up.
It covers it up,
Yeah.
It's very depressing.
I don't like it. It's sus. You could say Palps has been sus since day one. I mean, honestly. You ever see that picture at Qui-Gon's funeral? When it's taken down the row?
I love that.
And it's Palpatine, and Anakin's on the other end, and in between them is Obi-Wan, Padme, right? And it's like everyone that he has to get through to get to Anakin.
Yes.
And I love it.
I do too.
Whether that was intentional or not, it's great.
It seems so intentional, but I don't know.
Can we talk about it from Anakin's point of view? Because this pains me. How do we get here? We know what got to him. But holy shit, it still seems really extreme. Like, whether you disagree with a war, a movement, choices made, whether it's Ahsoka, what the Jedi did with Ahsoka or didn't do, and the constant, are we fighting a war for the right reasons, and Obi-Wan's influence of, like, whatever Anakin told himself, and, Anakin's predisposed issues, they were there. Does it still equal marching with your troops? He didn't have an inhibitor chip.
Yeah.
He fucking chose it. He listened to an order and did it. So on the same scale, all good soldiers follow orders.
Yeah.
He followed his first order from Palpatine without even blinking an eye, it seemed.
Well, in the first...
Well, he was promised that it would lead to...
Yes. I mean, even so. It's very extreme to go in and butcher all of your friends, the people you grew up with, everyone in your wake, including children who were powerless to defend themselves. I mean, spoiler alert for Kenobi series.
Yes.
He stabs Reva as a child and leaves her for dead, like looks right in her eyes.
Yes.
And then still, years later, does it again with no empathy. I agree with you. Like, how do you go from this to that, even with that kind of promise?
Yeah.
That's why I liked it when he goes to Mustafar and he's killing everyone and he's got tears just streaming down his face because he knows it's just, he's destroying parts of himself while he's doing it. But, like, thank God Rex wasn't with him. Can you imagine? Because he got split up and sent with Ahsoka, he didn't get pulled into being part of the Purge.
That would have been really, truly, I don't know if I could have watched that.
No, and like the fact that because he was with Ahsoka, she actually managed to save him from himself and remove the inhibitor chip, whereas he would have been on a totally different path. Like what happened to Cody.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess,
terrible.
We might see,
I
guess, because he's in the second season of Bad Batch, I think, it's either that or Tales of the Jedi, but I'm pretty sure it's second season of Bad Batch. Cody's supposed to show up.
Oh, God.
And
I'm not prepared.
I'm not either. It's like, what exactly are we going to see? Because some of the previews that we've seen, there was one at Celebration, but then there's been another one that's been released. He's kind of like questioning it to Crosshair.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's going to happen? I don't want to see Cody die.
No, I'm not. I
can't see that.
Cody's always been the mystery, right? The one that we never really knew.
Yeah.
And it's great because there's fanfics, but I'm scared. I'm very scared.
I am too, because they had talked about using him, apparently. There was like first drafts of the Kenobi series that were all about Cody going to Tatooine. Mm-hmm. If they didn't use it there, are they going to use it in the cartoon? And if they do or don't, either way, like...
It's going to be...
It could be very bad because you never see him in any of the content, basically Rogue One forward, I would say, so far. So either he doesn't survive or they just haven't worked out what his plot would be. I'm very scared.
Either way, it's bound to be unhappy.
I mean, which version would you rather have? That he's still hunting Obi-Wan down or that he realizes what he did?
I don't know, because both options are terrible. I would appreciate from a story standpoint him possibly questioning. Mm-hmm. Even though it's more painful for Cody, but I think from a story standpoint that would be more gratifying. Mm-hmm. If he's just a machine, then it's like, damn, none of it meant anything.
Yeah. Well, like he was higher ranking than Rex. Mm-hmm. He wasn't as, what's the word? I don't want to say likable, because I love Cody. Cody is more like a straight edge, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas
Which
Rex,
is why he worked with Kenobi so well.
Exactly. And it's why Rex works with Anakin and Ahsoka really well, and they were just paired off perfectly. So, I don't know.
Rex is more in touch with blurring the lines a little. Mm-hmm. And Cody's more rigid and structured.
And we didn't really know them when they came into play in Revenge of the Sith. Rex didn't even exist in Revenge of the Sith, and Cody, you only see him for a few minutes of the whole movie. Yeah. So it's not like we had established a relationship at that time. So now, after Clone Wars, everyone's like, what happened there? Like, there's literally no talk about it, no evidence, nothing in the movie, and I really want to know, but also I don't want to be hurt.
Well, that's not possible in this realm of a fan base in this whole franchise.
It is like totally possible that we could see a Cody and Obi-Wan reunion in Bad Batch, which I'm not sure I'm ready for that.
I don't know if I'm ready for that either.
I would really like to see that though. Like at the same time, I want to see the actors come back.
Well, that, yes, absolutely.
No, their performances would be fucking amazing.
Tim is all in, so
yeah.
I would love to see him and the scar that we have no idea about.
Yeah,
Answer us! There's 3 things we want to know in Star Wars. Number 1, what is Anakin whispering to the Zygerian Queen? Number 2, where did fucking Cody get that scar?
Yeah.
Number 3,
I'll never turn to the dark side. I am a Jedi.
We're leaving that in.
It's time for dinner.
It's time for dinner! That was a Luke alarm.
Yeah, that's my alarm.
Okay, well, yeah. I was gonna say when did Obi-Wan and Satine fuck, but those are the 3 questions that I'm dying to know. But
oh my God.
I guess it's appropriate that Luke interrupted that one.
Sorry about that. I thought it wouldn't go off.
We're doing this in one take because we're in one mic and we're in one setting.
So editing is a little tricky.
And I have to get this out within 24 hours. So this episode's going to be shorter than usual. So don't hate us.
Yeah, it's a speed episode.
Speed run.
Yeah.
But Order 66 is very impactful, and I as an Anakin fan, hate it.
Yeah, I bet.
It takes a lot for me to be like, okay, this makes sense, because it's so extreme, like we talked about. It's just very extreme.
So many people always use this as an example, too, of like how shitty Anakin is.
Well, I will say this. Okay, I'm not blind to the obvious. This doesn't, you know how people say like, oh, he or she's just snapped. Mm-hmm. I don't really believe that. I believe something simmers and there's something in there, and then someone makes a choice. It's a rash choice, or it's a, it's a compulsive one, or impulsive rather. I think there is a lot of hate in Anakin, whether it was justified or not, that would allow someone to do that so quickly. Yeah. Yes, Palpatine groomed him. Straight up fucking groomed him. Mm-hmm. Someone in his ear constantly telling him all the things he wanted to hear, all the things he craved. And this is a fragile individual. Mm-hmm. And he made that fucking choice. But it's what makes his character very interesting. I'll just say that.
Well, and we've discussed it before that, like, he was created by the Wills. You know, like, how crazy that they chose this fragile individual to be their vessel, so to speak.
Right. And there's a lot of questions with that, because I'm not going to ignore this either. Mental health is a real thing. Mm-hmm. And it counts. And it needs to be taken care of. And when it isn't, and it's fostered in such a way that it's used against someone or for some bigger plan, look at what can happen.
Yeah, you take a person's weaknesses, quote unquote.
Quote unquote.
And turn them into devices that you use.
Yeah.
It's what gaslighting is. 100%.
Yes. Yeah.
And so your sense of reality, it can happen to anyone.
Absolutely.
So that's the thing that people sometimes don't understand unless it's happened to them, that abuse is not ever something a person chooses. And it's oftentimes you don't even know it's happened to you. Sometimes you know for sure that it's happened.
Well, there's
to you.
many types of abuse.
But like mental abuse, sometimes you don't even realize till you look back. And you're like, wow.
Well, it's done by the most skilled. Mm-hmm. Who have the least amount of care for an individual. And so they're very good at it because they don't care for someone. So Palpatine, it fits that bill.
Oh, yeah.
And it's no wonder he thought this out. He had years to work on it and perfect it and play his little game. And it worked. But did it? Because they were unable. Palpatine, he was unable to get the one Jedi he needed the most, and that was Luke.
Yeah.
And, like your timer said, I'll never turn to the dark side. I'm a Jedi like my father before me, my favorite quote in Star Wars.
Mine too. Which is why it's my alarm. But
so it's a choice.
Yeah, and I think that even so, Anakin was pretty fucked up.
He was.
By the time Palpatine got him. So Palpatine didn't get what he wanted fully. Like, he wanted Anakin at his fullest, most enraged, strongest, young self. And what he ended up getting was a person with a broken psyche and no arms and legs, who, like, his strength and even his range of motion was totally diminished. It didn't stop him, obviously.
Hell no.
But there's stuff in the comic books that implies that Palpatine was aware that now he had a much more limited skill, which is why he wanted Luke so much.
Yes, Luke was the key.
Yeah,
because he was the Anakin.
Everything that Anakin had been. Yeah.
It's really fucked up, and I hate Palpatine.
Yeah. He has nothing to lose.
Nothing, because he doesn't care about anything but himself.
And that's what makes it so dangerous. Because even if everything falls apart, all of his plans don't work, people die, he doesn't care.
Nope.
And that's when a person is the most dangerous, because they can do anything.
Their path is destruction, and they're fine with that.
Yeah, for the sake of it.
He's a true Sith.
Yes.
I mean, arguably the most crafty one.
And, like, what's the ultimate goal here, Palps? Like, what are
Power.
you... like, and for what, though? But, like...
Ego.
Yeah. It's not anything that can actually ever be satisfied.
No, never. Absolutely never. No.
Yeah. Which is why people like that keep striving. Because they can't feel the satisfaction. It's never enough. And so, like, it becomes brutality for the sake of brutality, basically.
It reminds me of a Bruce Springsteen song quote. I'm not going to sing it. Well, maybe I will. But it's one of my favorite. It's in the... If anyone is familiar with Springsteen's work, I'm a huge fan. He's a personal hero of mine. Mm-hmm. His old stuff, not his radio cuts, but the song Badlands. It goes like this. Poor man want to be rich man want to be king, and the king ain't satisfied till he rules everything. Mm-hmm. Because the cycle never ends. Yeah. They're never satisfied.
Because a person who's already craving that level of power is a different kind of person. Yeah. That is not satisfied with anything the lonely, regular person could possibly be satisfied with. And that's the difference, right? Between the Jedi who are supposed to focus only on the here and now and what's right in front of them, never being attached and never craving power because they don't need it, because they only have what's right here. And then the total opposite of that,
Yes.
with the Sith and with Palpatine, and just wanting everything, and it's so interesting.
Your final thoughts on the Purge?
My biggest question besides Cody is what we're gonna see Grogu reveal.
True.
That feels to me like a story they're still telling with the little flashbacks that we've seen.
How to get out and by who? And I think that's a big key.
I think it'll be a big reveal whenever they decide to do it. It's going to be something where we're all like, holy shit.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that keeps me still very interested. And every time they reveal something new, like, for example, in Bad Batch, and even at the beginning of Kenobi, where they show the children
Yeah.
in Order 66, that I was just, like, instantly in tears, because it's so hard to watch it.
Yeah, it's the fighting Jedi that are just doing battle and probably wondering what is happening. These are my friends, my comrades, my trusted.
And I've said it a million times, watching them kill clones is also very hard.
It's to see the 501st walk up behind Anakin in such a totally different manner is just devastating every time I see that shot.
Yeah,
it's awful. It's pain. It's straight up pain.
Yeah.
Star Wars is pain. But it was a brilliantly executed plan. Mm-hmm. And I hate Palpatine for it. But at the same time, hope prevailed and the good guys win. Always.
Yeah. So this week our question for you listeners, it's a painful one. Do your best.
Yes, please.
What do you think happened to Cody after Order 66? What do you think we might see in the Bad Batch coming up? What would you want to see? Like, what are your headcanons about it? Even if you don't think it's realistic, we want to hear.
Totally.
So let us know your thoughts.
Next week's episode, since I'm here visiting my space twin Lauren, we went to see Rogue One in theaters and saw the featurette on Andor, which was holy shit.
Fucking great.
We'll get into all of it, including the crying, the sobbing, and the cheering, all next week's episode. So join us. We're gonna revisit Rogue One.
So on last week's episode, we talked about Obi-Wan Kenobi in a Hawaiian shirt.
We sure did, amongst other interesting features, character cameos.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird shit going on over in the Lego universe.
A lot.
We asked our listeners what was their favorite part, and we got a few people saying that they loved Anakin in particular. Of course, the Obi-Wan in the Hawaiian shirt was a given.
It's a given.
We assumed. But Rebecca said, she sent me a message saying, my favorite part of the Lego movie was definitely Matt's Obi-Wan Kenobi and his absolutely adorable laugh afterwards.
Yes. Matt Lanter is a joy.
Yes.
We're so glad him and James Arnold Taylor were back for this, and
I wish they had gotten to record together, but probably not because their parts didn't even overlap. But we loved hearing them.
The Anakin laugh, and
honestly, besides the Obi-Wan part, that's my favorite.
Seeing him in flippers.
Oh my god!
I mean,
and like shaking the flipper out.
Yes, this is a toy, folks. But it was great. It was a joy.
It was precious. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Most Things Kenobi podcast. We appreciate every single one of our patrons and are grateful for your support. If you'd like to support the podcast and become a patron as well, head over to the Most Things Kenobi Patreon. As always, you can follow us on Tumblr, Twitter, and Instagram, and don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast player. If you enjoy our podcast, feel free to rate us on Spotify and Apple. Thank you very much. And if you need one place to find all of these things, head over to our website, mostthinkskenobi.com.
So until next time, my dearest space twin, may the Force be with you.
Always.